day, and welcome to Daily Bust on PFTV, your quick and refreshing soft angle to news and society, lifestyle, culture, and stories that matter. I am Ami Mve. Here are today's stories, putting people first. ElRufai appears at EFCC as federal government files charges over alleged security breach. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir ElRufai was at the Abuja office of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Monday as the federal government filed charges against him over an alleged security breach. The development has drawn public attention, with supporters and critics gathering outside the commission's office. Ignatius Ili has the rest of the story.
In Abuja yesterday, outside the EFCC office in Jabi, groups gathered early, some in support of Nasir ElRufai, others calling for a full investigation. The protests remained largely peaceful, but emotions ran high. The former governor arrived to honor an invitation from investigators. Security was tight, with access to the premises restricted as officials managed the crowd. The development comes amid a new legal case filed by the federal government at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Prosecutors have charged ElRufai with allegedly intercepting private communication involving the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu. The case is being handled by the Department of State Services. Authorities say the alleged incident occurred early this month and raises concern around national security and the handling of sensitive information. The former governor is also accused of failing to report the alleged breach to security agencies. Details of the case are expected to be addressed as proceedings begin in court. For many Nigerians, the situation reflects broader concerns about accountability, due process, and the rule of law. While some see the investigation as a sign that no one is above the law, others are calling for fairness and transparency. As legal proceedings unfold, attention remains on the case which be handled. For now, the focus is on the facts and the role of institutions in ensuring justice is served. Ignatius Ili, PFTV.
For millions, peace is a prayer, not a promise. Mothers, farmers, and young people live in fear, yearning for stability. The AU pledges zero tolerance for unconstitutional power grabs and aims to silence the guns. But for those in crossfire, peace means survival. Today, the question remains, how many more must wait before silence truly means peace? We'll take a quick break to return shortly. Welcome back to Daily Bust on PFTV. More on our bulletin today. Nigeria's inflation drops slightly to 15.10% in January. Nigeria's inflation rate recorded a slight decline in January, offering some relief in the cost of living. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, headline inflation stood at 15.10%. Iyuange Baja has more.
The National Bureau of Statistics says Nigerians' headline inflation dropped slightly to 15.10% in January. This is a marginal decrease from the 15.15% recorded in December. On a year-on basis, inflation is significantly lower than the 27.61% recorded in January last year. The report also shows a decline in month-on-month inflation, indicating a slower rise in prices. Food remains the biggest driver of inflation alongside transport and accommodation services. However, food inflation dropped to 8.89%, reflecting a reduction in the prices of items such as maize, beans, yams, eggs, and cooking oil. Core inflation, which exclude farm produce and energy, stood at 17.72%, also showing a decline compared to last year. Across states, inflation was highest in Benue, Kogi, and the Federal Capital Territory. It was lowest in Ebonyi, Katsina, and Imo State. Experts says while the decline is a positive sign, the cost of living remains a concern for many Nigerians. The notes that sustained stability will depend on continued economic and policy improvement.
Thank you for that report, Iwangi. Protesters demand real-time result upload at National Assembly. Protesters gathered outside the National Assembly of Nigeria in Abuja on Monday, calling for real-time electronic transmission of election results to be made mandatory in the Electoral Act. Civil society group says the move is key to improving transparency and public confidence in elections. Ignatius Ili is here again with more.
Arrived with placards and a clear message. Let every vote count and let Nigerians see it count. Despite restricted access to the complex, demonstrators assembled outside the gates and continued their protest. Among the groups present were Action Aid Nigeria and Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room. They are urging lawmakers to make real-time electronic transmission of results a legal requirement. According to the protesters, reliance on manual collation can create gaps that may affect the credibility of election outcomes. They want results transmitted directly from polling units to a central system without delay. The call comes as the Senate considers amendments of the Electoral Act. During recent deliberation, some lawmakers propose removing the term real-time and replacing transmission with transfer, a move that has sparked debates. For many Nigerians, the issue goes beyond technical language. It touches on trust in the electoral process and confidence that votes are accurately recorded and reported. Lawmakers are expected to continue deliberation in the coming days. But outside the chambers, civil society groups say transparency remains priority in strengthening Nigeria's democracy. Ignatius Ili, PFTV, Abuja.
Thank you, Ignatius. And lastly, United States blacklist 8 Nigerians over terror and cybercrime ties. The U.S. Department of the Treasury says 8 Nigerians have been blacklisted over alleged collections to groups such as Boko Haram and ISIL. The sanctions were announced through the Office of Foreign Assets Control, known as OFAC. Under the measure, any assets belonging to the individuals within U.S. jurisdiction have been frozen. U.S. citizens and companies are also prohibited from engaging in transactions with them. According to U.S. authorities, some of those listed are suspected of supporting extremist networks financially, while others are linked to cybercrime activities. Officials say one of the individuals had previously been convicted abroad in connection with attempts to move funds allegedly linked to Boko Haram. Security experts say the sanctions are aimed at cutting off financial support for terrorist operations, which often rely on complex international networks. For communities affected by insurgency in parts of northern Nigeria, such developments highlight ongoing efforts to tackle the roots of violence. However, concerns about security, recovery, and long-term stability remain. Analysts say while sanctions can limit financial activity, broader cooperation between countries remains key to addressing both terrorism and cybercrime. That is it for this edition of People First Television Daily Buzz. I am Ami Mve. Stay informed, stay inspired, and stay connected. This is PFTV. Have a good day.